Akintayo from Nigeria, who is a life coach and investment coach. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And welcome to Kenya.
Yes, I'm enjoying it. It's cold, though.
It is. It is a bit cold, of course.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about your story. I do know that you're a life and investment coach, but who is Stephen Akintayo?
Well, Stephen Akintayo is a young man that started his business 14 years ago back in Nigeria with just $10.
Mm-hmm.
And today we've built hundreds of millions of dollars in assets in 4 continents of the world. We're in UK, US, Dubai, and in Nigeria. And hopefully maybe we'll one day come to Kenya as well.
Right.
I started 14 years ago. I've written 37 books. And my mother was a civil servant. My father's business had crumbled before I was born. So as I started building wealth, I had strong passion to teach what the principles that I was using to help as many people as I can. Today I have millions of following all over social media, and many of them have been inspired by what I do. Even here in Kenya, the last time I was here, a gentleman had started his real estate company inspired by what I do here in Nairobi.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited about my journey.
Right, let's talk about, you said you started 14 years ago with just $10.
Yes.
And now it's all the way up to $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Take us through the process, because we know a lot of the time it's not easy to get to that particular point. So was it easy for you to just...
No.
Of course it wasn't, right?
Yes,
so for
was.
Any ordinary young person listening
Yeah.
right now, tell us about your journey from that particular point of view.
Well, for me, it was really difficult because I didn't have connections. I wasn't. There was nobody in my family lineage that was wealthy, so it was literally having to go through the rough, tough seasons. I remember I used to paste posters. Then we just do photocopy. We started with a digital marketing firm, trying to get people to do business with us. For 7 years of doing business, it was really tough. But at some point, and that's one of the things I share with people, that life is in phases, men are in sizes, you live your size part time. And life grows in phases. There's a phase, you call it the wilderness phase of your business. There's a growing phase of your business, and there's an exponential phase of your business. So at the beginning, it's going to be rough. But you keep at it. It doesn't mean you're getting it wrong or you're doing something wrong. Yesterday I did a book review with some Kenyans here, and that was the same thing I was sharing with them, because a lot of them were young, and they were saying, how do I know I'm on the right path? I said, as long as you're putting in the hard work and you're doing the right things, just keep at it. At some point it will grow.
Right. You talked about digital marketing. Is it that you saw there was a gap in that particular field, and then you went into it?
Yes, it was that I had an organization, because I had started training very long ago, and so this organization said they wanted to send messages to people in bulk. And so they gave me then about $7. I added $3, and then I helped them. I didn't even have a laptop. I went to what we call cyber cafe. I don't know whether you used to have them here too.
We did.
So went to a cyber cafe, helped the organization send their messaging. Before you know, more companies started coming. And then 2015, we then went into real estate. And of course, it was in real estate that we really grew into, hundreds of millions of dollars. But the journey started with just selling bulk SMS, where you have client paying you $2, $10, $12, thereabout. But the consistency helped us that when we then move into real estate, we had built credibility, we built trust, even in the small phase of our business. And now that we're doing big, products in terms of housing, land, people could trust us. And that's why you have to be consistent.
Right. Let's talk about, you have the title life coach, investment coach. I mean, what's the difference between these two, and what is the difference between them and mentorship or a mentor?
You're kind of, it's all a term. They're kind of, a coach, for example, meets you 50-50. No, a coach literally, you can say, doesn't even meet you 50-50. So a coach will ask you, for example, you say, I'm broke. The coach will say, why are you broke? So he keeps asking you questions till you pull out the answer from your inside. A mentor, on the other hand, meets you 50-50. He's giving you ideas. He's also asking you to bring ideas. But when it comes to an investment coach, which is more of what I do, even though I could also play as a life coach, an investment coach is somebody who has been able to turn, let's say $10 to $1 million, right? And he knows the processes and can say, hey, this was the process I used, you too can use the same. So I'm more of an investment coach because I'm able to guide people into low risk, mid risk, and high risk investment opportunities they can take advantage of. And it's been important for me to do that because there's so much poverty in Africa, there's so much unemployment in Africa, and oftentimes we complain about racism. And I've said that you cannot end racism until you build wealth among Africans. It's difficult for anybody to be a racist to their employer. Do you see that? So the problem is that many times even those of us who migrate to other parts of the world, we're having the lowest of jobs. And so it's easy for people to be racist towards us. But when we are owners, we're business owners, we're investors, then they can't mess with us. And we've seen other cultures do that. We've seen the Pakistanis, the Indians, we see how they've taken over the UK. The new Prime Minister is from India now.
Right.
Because they come together, they own businesses, they invest in those sectors. And so those nations can't joke with them at all.
Could you give me an example maybe in Nigeria, because that's your home country, of how you've been able to coach, for instance, young people in terms of investment? What ideas did you put in place?
So for me, basically one of the things I've been able to do, and not just in Nigeria, because I currently even reside in Dubai and then move around all the places where I have businesses. But what we've been able to do everywhere, I mentor people, is to share with them how many of us always go only for the high-risk investment opportunities, forex, crypto, and then we lose the money, and then we say, oh, I was scammed, or oh, I lost money. Meanwhile, there are three types of investment. There's a low risk, there's a mid risk, there's a high risk. Under low risk, you have treasury bills. Under low risk, you have other types of investment that you can do, like insurance. Particularly, certain insurance also give you opportunity to get some returns, maybe 5% or lower. Then you have mid risk. You have real estate. You have buying shares of companies. People can buy shares ahead of this station as well. You guys are PLC, right? So you can buy shares. Those are like mid-risk types of investment. Then you have the high-risk ones, which is I'm buying forex, I'm buying crypto. So when you do high-risk investment, you must only put a little portion of your money. And when you make profit, pull it out and put it into the mid and the low. Right, but mistakenly, again, because we are not educated, we carry all our savings, we put into high risk, and definitely at some point high risk we collapse. So we lose all our money, then we come back and say, oh, I've been scammed. So knowledge is required before really becoming an investor.
It's important that you said knowledge is required. My next question would be, do you think there's enough awareness in Africa as a continent when it comes to investment or business?
Not at all. Unfortunately, not at all. I think we talk more about politics than we even talk about business and investment. We talk more about divisions. We talk more about religion than we talk about really building wealth and building success amongst black people. And that's why I'm happy that, and I want to thank you guys for having me on your station, because it's when mainstream media begin to have this kind of conversations that our people begin to say, okay, so it's possible. Because the mindset usually is that only politicians can be rich. Only if you steal money, you can't be rich legitimately. And one of the movements I'm leading is that we can change that mindset, that you can legitimately build wealth. And as long as we start having mainstream media push that conversation, look for role models in the society and say, come and teach people how you made it. Write a book on it. You won't believe it. The richest black man doesn't have a book. The richest black woman has a book, but she doesn't have a book on how she made it, right? Her book is more on religion. So when you see that, African young people are wondering, where's the hope? How do I make it? I don't even know, my left to my right, and we're changing that. And I believe it's a movement that will pick pick up very soon.
Is that one of the reasons why you've said 37 books?
Yes.
I mean, what's the motivation to write 37 books?
So my story was that at the age of 18, I read my first money book. It's called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by a man called Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah. And that book changed my life. I read several other books as well. And when I realized that book was what really changed my mindset and made me to believe that I could make it legitimately, I realized that most of those authors were not Africans. So they couldn't give the context of the situations and the examples in the African context. And Africa is a bit different from the Western world. So I felt, being able to use their principle and build wealth, I need to then write about how I did it in a more reasonable, in an African context. For example, we have situations where if one person is rich in a family, then he becomes the breadwinner for the whole entire community. Now, in the Western world, they don't understand that. So how do you still build wealth when you know you have to be responsible for several family members? So this book is able to relate to our own unique situations.
Right. Of course, in the continent, literacy levels are not very high.
Yeah.
Things are changing. But if someone can't get access to your book or listen to your talks, for instance, what other way would they learn about these opportunities?
Well, one of the things I've done is I have over 1,000 video courses on YouTube for free. Yes. So, because again, for me, it's not about money, it's about giving back. And so, and I've heard several testimonies. In fact, a lot of the volunteers for the hangout we did where people had known me before I even showed up here, and many of them have been inspired. They've learned so much from the videos they watched, and so what we've done is to say, at whatever level we can meet up with you, as long as you can have access to a phone and an internet, you can go to the YouTube platform and just watch and learn and learn and learn.
Right. You talked about, of course, investment. People need to know about the low, mid, high risk. But what do you think are the challenges actually affecting young people specifically in terms of just growing themselves in wealth creation?
I think the biggest issue is that Africa lacks hero, right? We lack people we can look up to say, thank God for the great Madiba, Nelson Mandela, and several other national leaders. But when it comes to business, when it comes to entrepreneurship, we really don't have figures that we can say, look at America. You can say, I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to be like, if you live in America, you can say, I want to be like Bill Gates. I want to be like whoever. Now, in Africa, how many such people can say, I want to be like this person, and then they've written books, then I could follow the footstep. I understand their processes. So young people need heroes. They need business leaders, not just political leaders, because everything is not about politics. And we fail to realize that even politicians can't do much outside the citizens that they govern. Wealthy nations always have wealthy individuals in them. So America, for example, has, if you list 100 richest people in the world, you see that almost 50 are from America. Now, that's why America is the richest nation. So for us to start having rich countries in Africa, we need to have rich citizens. And that begins with having mentors, having leaders, and then apprenticeship is very important. That a lot of our business owners need to begin to pick up young people, mentor them, and correct them and say, this is how you do things, these are the principles. This is like a lady that has been working with me since I came here. For the first time, she has to learn how to keep to time. So I heard this one.
Something as small as that.
Something as small as that. But it can be that I have lost millions of naira by just being late to meetings. And then the person say, I'm done. You were late. I'm not going to do the business with you. So I had to learn the hard way. Now they can learn early that, hey, if you are doing business, you have to keep to time. I heard somebody was telling me that in the political circle here in Kenya, the later you come, it shows how important you are. Well, in the business community, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
You have to come on time. Time is very, very important, because in this world, God didn't give you money. God gave everybody time. Right. And we all have 24 hours equally. It's how you use that time that determines how wealthy and successful that you are.
Fantastic. Okay, let me ask another question when it comes to now politicians, for instance.
Yeah.
Yes, you are talking about young people and how they can better themselves. But have you tried talking to like political leaders or people in development and just sort of change their mindset also when it comes to money?
Well, I think they are beginning to come around. I mean, I particularly since I moved to Dubai, I've had a lot of African leaders, political leaders even come, some of them trying to encourage us to come and invest in their country. And I've used the opportunity to give them my book, to share my principles with them. And I know in their case it's gradual, but I believe over time they will come around. I had a governor, for example, hosting me in Nigeria as well, and was seated all through my presentation. So I believe they're coming around, but we need them as well to have a different mindset and even encourage entrepreneurship, because some of our political leaders don't even know what entrepreneurship is, because many of them never run a business before just being elected. And I think that's also part of the problem. We need to start electing people who have been able to succeed in their private business, trusting that they will succeed in the public sector as well.
Well, maybe a personal question, if I could ask.
No problem.
You have said that you've moved to Dubai. Is it that there are better opportunities there, investment opportunities? I mean, why are you not investing in your country there, in Nigeria, in Africa?
We're actually one of the biggest developers in Nigeria. So we're still investing. It's not the moving to Dubai is just that it has helped to expand. I always say that your ideas, your business concept has to pass the test of universality. And that's one of the things we also as Africans need to learn. I mean, like I gave example of Indians and Pakistanis. They are doing business in India and Pakistan, but they also go to other nations and are able to expand in those nations. And that's what Africans need to do. As we expand locally, we also need to expand internationally. And so for me, Dubai was easy access. You can, pick up a flight easily, move to another nation, and you can easily do transaction easily. Because part of the problem also we have in Africa is being able to easily move your funds and expand and do business. And when you do real estate, I mean, it's high capital intensive. So now I want to move funds to maybe buy some property in the US. I'm having to have limitations as to how much I can move, and I need to close those transactions so fast. I think another thing our government needs to look into is how Dubai has made it easy for wealthy people to do business easily. But I don't think it's that we keep expanding in Africa. As our biggest investment is still in Africa, and we hope to even expand to other cities in Africa as well.
Maybe part of my final question then, what are some of the tools or tips you can give people watching who, they want to make money, they want to invest? And now that you have a book here, maybe just give us a few tips on it. Yeah.
Well, number one, and I share that in the book, is your network. Your network determines your net worth. All right, so you need to begin to look for quality relationships. For example, such quality relationship is to say, who do I know in Nairobi that is very, very successful as an entrepreneur, that I can write a letter? And I always say this because sometimes you say, well, you can't easily access rich people or successful people. I say, that's not true. You just need to do what others don't do. Oftentimes when people meet rich people, they want to demand, they want to ask. So why not send a gift? You can do a portrait of the person with a handwritten letter and say, I would love an opportunity to be an apprentice and just carry your bag for you and just be your PA for a while. I want to learn the principles that helped you to become wealthy. One of the concepts that is now studied in Harvard is an Igbo culture in Nigeria, where a young man, when he's starting life, he goes to another older person and serve the person for 7 years. And after 7 years, the older person sets him up in his own business. And it's been discovered that it's one of the most effective way to replicate entrepreneurship. So young people watching me, look for great people and reach out to them, right, in a humble way, and say, I would love to be an apprentice. I would love to learn. And of course, send your letter with a gift. It's not about how expensive, because most people won't do it.
Right.
Some of the wealthiest people I've had to connect with, that's what I did. I sent them a gift, even though they were richer than I do. And they were shocked. They were, curious, like, who sends me a gift? People don't always do that. They always want to ask. And that opened the door for me. And then the last thing I will share, because of our time, is the principle of consistency. Young people need to know that only the great starts from the top. Everything great starts from the bottom. Right. So you have to start small, think big, and grow fast, and be consistent at it. I may look young, but I've put in 14 years.
Yeah, you definitely
and 14
do.
years is no joke.
Right.
So we just have to understand the place of being consistent at doing the right thing. You know, it may be tiring sometimes, may be discouraging sometimes, but keep going. Keep going. Keep doing the right thing, and very soon it will speak.
Right, just one last thing.
No
Is
problem.
there one quote that you've read somewhere, or you read somewhere, that sort of changed your perspective to everything?
Read somewhere. One of the quotes that I read, and it's very powerful, it was my dad that even said it to me. He said, don't quickly make money so that you can make money for the long time. Quickly make money so that you are broke for the rest of your life. In other words, the principle is that you have to work hard not to cut corners. Because when you cut corners, you actually lengthen the journey. Even though you're thinking you're playing a scheme or a game, you're actually lengthening the journey of wealth creation. So my advice to people is don't rush building wealth. Go through the processes. Right? Love the process. When you look at a gold, when you see a gold ore, before it's refined, you would think it's a rough stone. But after that stone goes through fire at high temperature, it comes out as fine gold, and everybody love it. And that's our story. When we go through all these processes that shapes us, we come out as finest individuals, and the whole world will celebrate us.
Right, of course, a very good place to end that interview, just trusting the process at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stephen Akintayo, for your time. We